Welcome everybody to the forum here. If you don't know, my name is Cliff Wilming. I've already introduced our panelists here. Thank you for taking your Sunday afternoon to be down here with us. We feel here in Lafayette this is a super critical time for not only Colorado, but the United States, Turtle Island, and really the whole planet. You know, we've had a bunch of these forums over the years, and they've taken on different topics, they've taken on different issues, they've come at various times in a 7-year protracted battle that originally started off a fight to just really protect the local environment from the intrusion of oil and gas activity, and has really become the work of a semi-revolutionary movement, not only to protect the planet, but to weaken and start to expose the system that mandates its destruction. And, you know, so here, the last time we were here with Thomas, we were having a big city council forum here. We convinced the city council to have a town hall meeting around our Climate Bill of Rights back then. And this was a measure that we wanted adopted that said quite specifically two main things. For one, that it banned all oil and gas activity. It banned the development of any kind of fossil fuels or extension of fossil fuel infrastructure as a violation to our fundamental right to a healthy and safe climate. And arguably, if you don't have the right to a healthy and safe climate, the rest of your rights are likely very temporary. Going beyond that was a measure within that initiative or that ordinance called a direct action protection clause. We had a few different names for it, but within that clause, it said that people engaging in nonviolent civil disobedience and direct action to enforce the tenets of the initiative or the ordinance would be immune from police prosecution. This was something that was introduced to me by the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund, at least as an idea. I was very shocked when I heard it because I asked Ben Price, the national organizer, I said, it sounds to me like you're trying to legalize direct action. And he said, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We didn't arrive at that moment prematurely or without thought. It was a moment and it was an initiative that we understood as compelled by the necessity of the conditions we were working in. And what were those conditions? Those were conditions that a state government that was saying that you don't have the right to health, you don't have the right to a healthy climate, you certainly don't have superior rights to the Colorado Oil and Gas Association, and also working within a political class that was far more interested in negotiating the terms of us being drilled than really taking a defiant and genuine and rebellious, a righteously rebellious position and saying, no, we are not going to willingly enforce the laws or the legal system that mandates the harm to our people. And by the time you've worked about 6 or 7 years on this and you've gone through all of those steps, you've gone to the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, you've gone to your city council and begged and pleaded that they do something just, you go to the county commissioners, you might even go to the Air Quality Board. All of these agencies and governing bodies will all tell you, we found the same thing, that you can't say no to your abuse. Number one. And if you phrase it that way, it comes across very differently than the way they say it. Well, it's a state matter, right? There are two ways of saying the same damn thing. But, you know, we found that when we went to all of those boards and we went to all of those politicians, all of them within a very definite political milieu, certainly here in Boulder County and now all the way to the state capitol, that's what we were being told. The narrative we were being given, the ideas that we were supposed to adopt and integrate into our work to protect ourselves as volunteer community organizers all started with that phrase. You can't say no. You can't say no to fracking. And once you understand and you accept that you can't say no, here are the possible roles that you can be given. Certainly one of them is to go to those same politicians and those regulatory boards. You can elect new officials into office. How many people here thought or were told there was going to be a sea change once the blue wave swept Colorado, right? How many people, just raising your hand, think that oil and gas is defeated and corporate power is gone? Okay, so it's unanimous. That's good. So we're off on the right foot here. The thoughts behind this particular forum really were pushed forward by the dominant narrative that we've been given most recently, which is around Senate Bill 181. Is everybody familiar with 181? I'd be shocked if you weren't. So, as we know, 181 was the main kind of flagship legislation that was supposed to address everything from health and safety and welfare, and to really what Joe Salazar said, to create a sea change in oil and gas, or we were led to believe it was actually environmental policy. That's all come and gone. I don't know how many people here saw the Polis press conference about a week and a half ago, where he said basically Colorado is open for business, that the oil and gas industry enjoys a stability and predictability that any industry would appreciate. His entire press conference, which is about 20 minutes, is really, it's not a message to the people. It's a message to the investor class and Wall Street. It's a message, and within that message, within that press conference, you had members of the Sierra Club and Conservation Colorado and the League of Oil and Gas Impacted Coloradans all being paraded around on stage right next to Matt Owens, who is the president of Extraction Oil and Gas, as well as Republican political representatives as well. And, within that press conference, we were told what the takeaway was. The oil and gas wars are over in Colorado. In other words, the environmentalists have been collared. The symbolic legislation has been accomplished. And now your role will shift to going and pleading with Jeff Robbins down at the COGCC to create rules that will define the terms that your environment and your population will be exploited. We understand that from East Boulder County United's perspective as a non-starter. It's an absolute non-starter. And there's a lot of messaging going on globally now with the Green New Deal and the Sunrise Movement and all of this stuff that seems to be highly financed and extremely promoted across the board, almost totally politically. But it really, what it kind of drives to is it drives at the idea of what we are supposed to define environmentalism as. And in East Boulder County United, we've had, if you haven't noticed, we've developed a bit of a scrappy reputation over the years. We're more happy about that today than we've ever been. So you shouldn't look forward to us toning things down in the future. We're looking to expand that attitude, actually. And it's not because we're career conflict organizers. We feel that it's necessity that drives that sort of thing. So, when we talk about what environmentalism is today, and we are being told that environmentalism is going to the same system that has engineered the problem, now as big as global climate collapse, and that we're being informed that we should make a moral plea to that system in order to get redress of our grievances, we understand that that is a maneuver of that system designed to produce an outcome that is conciliatory to the investor class that Jared Polis was addressing in his press conference. And so we felt that it was important right at this time to really get into the nuts and bolts of what it means to be an environmentalist or a person or a protector in the age where we can routinely talk about the sixth major extinction event on Earth. And what does that environmentalism look like? So we have many people out of our panel up here that we drew from. We've got a couple folks from out of town here. Waniya, who I've known at least over Facebook since Standing Rock, who is a native language teacher, and I learned just this week also an emergency medical technician. but a very respected fighter up there in Standing Rock. She was down at the Bayou Pipeline encampments and is known quite nationally. And so we wanted to open up with both Waniya and then Thomas Linzey, who is from the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund, that long ago helped East Boulder County United realize that the system is not broken, that it's actually fixed, and that being an environmentalism means to try to attempt to break that system. And then we have a couple panelists here from East Boulder County United, our newly formed board. Some of you may know that a few of us from the old guard of EBCU are moving to another state here, and so we've got a new organizational structure that can carry this work forward. So if there's not any questions or anything like that, I would like to hand it over to Waniya, and we could go from there. Sound good? Okay.